What's going on, guys? Another week has come and gone. It is once again time to talk those box office numbers. But quickly, as always, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, drop some comments down below. I want to know what you saw this weekend. And now let's dive into those juicy box office numbers. It was no surprise that it was going to be an interesting time here at the box office this week. These about this week and next week are classically dead weeks here in December while we wait for us to finally kick off into that Christmas holiday. These are known as the death zones in between Thanksgiving and Christmas, but we didn't do too bad this past weekend. The release of actually a big movie, well, not so big, but a nice medium-sized budget movie that could do business, definitely helped here at the box office. We had done 48 million throughout the top 10 this weekend. So not terrible. I actually thought we'd end up being a lot worse than that. It was insanely dead at my theater. It just crazy so this weekend. It was just absolutely wild how dead it still seemed, even with this new release. So we're not going to waste any time. We're going to dive right into the box office and we're going to take a look how everything shook out for this weekend of December 2nd to December 4th. And it should surprise nobody that's still remaining in number one for 4 weeks in a row, taking the title that we'll see later on in this list is Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Still number one in its fourth week, dropping 61.4%, taking in $17 million to bring its total domestic haul to $393 million off of a $250 million budget. This movie is a success. We've continued to talk about it week over week. 4 weeks now at number one. That's a record for 2022. We'll talk about it again later in a list that we always like to look at. And I believe it's going to be number one again next weekend. This movie is going to be the king of 2022, having held number one for 5 weeks until Avatar comes out. But it is an absolute smash success for them, and they are just printing money at this point. Our new movie debuts here in number two. It is the Christmas movie starring David Harbour, Violent Night. It takes in $13 million off of a $20 million budget. That's not terrible for this movie. I did not think this movie was going to end up doing very well, which I was ready for this movie to be a failure, and I was not happy about it because the movie is so much fun. If you went out and saw it this weekend, you will also know this movie is an absolute blast. It is just a great throwback to just big, dumb, fun 90s action movies. Owes a lot of love to Home Alone and Die Hard and just classic stuff from days gone by. It is such a fun movie. Oh, we got the puppy. Hi, oh, all right. Puppy doesn't want to play. Puppy runs away. This is such a fun movie. So I was ready for it to fail, and I was so happy to discover that it didn't fail, that it made $13 million with a $20 million budget. This movie, if it could contain and still continue over the weeks to just make a quiet amount of money, is going to be a box office success. If you take it in worldwide, it's already made over its budget back, its initial budget. So that is well on its path to being a decent little moneymaker right there. Third place is the movie Strange World in its second week, dropping 59.5%. It takes in $4.9 million, bringing its total domestic haul to $25 million off of a $180 million budget. This movie continues to struggle at the box office. It is going to go down quite possibly as one of the biggest box office bombs of 2022, something that we never thought possible with Disney over Thanksgiving Day weekend. This was their time. This is a place that they hold court for animated movies, and this year just failed massively in its quest for that. It's just a shame to see. It's a solid movie, not worth being as big of a box office bomb as it is, but just goes to show you the box office does not give a fuck about what your movie is. In fourth place is The Menu in its third week, dropping 35.1%, taking in $3.5 million to bring its total domestic haul to $24 million off a $30 million budget. This movie is well on its way to making its budget back. It is doing decently well here. It continues to make money week over week, and I think we will end up, when this movie is all said and done, having it become a nice mid-budget moneymaker for itself there. And rounding us off in fifth place is Devotion in its second week, dropping 52.6%, taking in $2.7 million to bring its total domestic haul to $13 million off of a $90 million budget. Dear, this movie has a lot of work to do to make its budget back. I don't think it's going to do it. I think it might join Strange World in the box office bombs for 2022, which again is another shame because this movie is really, really good. I went and saw it over this past weekend, and I actually really enjoyed this movie a lot. I thought it was very well done. The performances are great in it. The practical effects work in it is really well. It was a really enjoyable movie, and it's a shame that this movie is not going to end up making anywhere close to its budget back. In sixth place is another new movie, I Heard the Bells, a Fathom Events movie. It took in $1.8 million off of a God knows what budget. Never even heard of this movie. Of course, every now and again we see it. These nice religious Christmas movies, or just religious movies in general from Fathom, just show up here on this list that end up making a nice little haul for itself. So good for you, I Heard the Bells. I guess we'll see if you end up managing to hold on into this top 10 next week with absolutely nothing coming out. So it's quite possible. In seventh place is Black Adam in its seventh week, dropping 48.9%. It takes in $1.6 million to bring its total domestic haul to $165 million off of a $195 million budget. It's still crazy to me that this movie wasn't even able domestically to make back its initial budget. I would have thought it would at least domestically make close to $200 million, but here we are sitting pretty at 165, struggling to just get back to its initial budget. It definitely still made its money back if you look at the worldwide box office, but still not as high as they probably were hoping for this movie. In eighth place is The Fabelmans in its fourth week, dropping 42.5%, bringing its taking in $1.2 million to bring its total domestic haul to $5.5 million off of a $40 million budget. This is another movie that I can't believe I'm living in a world where Steven Spielberg is struggling to make back his budget and then some. The dude is the most prolific director of all time. He is the highest grossing director of all time, and here we are seeing his movie here that's just struggling to make back its initial budget. It's crazy that we live in a world where not even Steven Spielberg is a sure bet anymore. It is such a different box office than it was even 10 years ago, and it's just crazy to see how these movies do these days. In ninth place is Bones and All in its third week, dropping 47.3%. It takes in $1 million to bring its total domestic haul to $6 million off of a $20 million budget. I saw this movie the other day. This movie is fucking wild. I can see why it's not going to make its budget back. This is a very niche movie, a very wild movie to make a love story about cannibals, but goddamn is it freaking fantastic. So you should definitely go out and check this movie out if you haven't seen it. And rounding us off in the top 10, still holding strong in its seventh week, is Ticket to Paradise, dropping 54.4%, taking in $849,000 to bring its total domestic haul to $66 million off of a $60 million budget. We passed the domestic threshold. We managed to make back its budget here domestically. I think worldwide might even have put this movie at and over $100 million. I'm not entirely sure. We'll have to check into that and get back to us here, but still an absolute win for this romantic comedy. As always, we take a look at our top 10 worldwide and domestic. We go first to our top 10 worldwide. Top Gun holds number one with $1.4 billion. Jurassic World behind that at $1 billion. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness in third place with $955 million. Minions Rise of Gru with $939 million. The Batman with $770. Thor Love and Thunder with $760 million. Black Panther Wakanda Forever quickly approaching those two movies with $753 million. Watergate Bridge right behind that with $626, Moon Man with $458, and Fantastic Beasts still hanging on in the 10th spot with $405 million. We also take a look here on the domestic front. Top Gun Maverick holds court at number one with $716 million. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness with $411. Black Panther Wakanda Forever in its fourth week manages to drum up all the way to number 3 on the top 10 domestic with $393 million. By this time next week, it should have overtaken Doctor Strange to be the second for top 10 domestic. Does it have it in it to pass Top Gun and take the number 1 seed? I don't think so. It's starting to slow down, but it remains to be seen. It well possibly could. You never can discount that Black Panther movie. The first one was absolute gangbusters, but I think it's safe to say that Black Panther is going to end up settling for second place. Jurassic World Dominion right behind Black Panther with $376 million. Minion Rise of Gru with $369,456,000. The Batman literally right behind that with $369,345,000. Thor Love and Thunder right behind that with $343. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 with $190. Black Adam with $165. And Elvis hanging out at the number 10 seed with $151 million. Now, as always, we like to take a look at our fallen heroes. These are our heroes that did their time in the top 10, but now they have bowed out for greener passages. We have 2 movies this week that have bowed out of the top 10. We take a look here at the chart. Two movies bowing out here. We've got Glass Onion bowing out of the top 10 after 1 week on the chart. We knew this one was coming simply because this movie was a limited engagement in theaters. It was going to be only in theaters for Thanksgiving weekend, so it's no surprise there that this one bows out of the charts. And The Chosen bows out of the charts after 2 weeks in the top 10. You guys did your time, you made your money, you had your say, you're now bowing out for greener passages. We will see you on physical media and streaming. And as always, we salute you. Now we have one more chart before we bid adieu, and as always, it is our lovely chart where we like to take a look at the movies that were able to hold on to the number 1 spot for more than 1 week consecutively, and we are actually celebrating history right now here in the year 2022, because Black Panther has now passed the Hat Trick Boys, and it has become the only movie for the year of 2022 that has managed to hold on to the box office number 1 spot for 4 weekends in a row. We take a look here now at the chart. As you can see, we've got all of our movies that did everything here. Spider-Man No Way Home in January held the weekends of the 21st and the 28th. Uncharted held the weekends of February 18th and the 25th. The Batman was the first of our Hat Trick Boys, holding March 4th, the 11th, and the 18th. The Bad Guys held the weekend of April 22nd and 29th. Doctor Strange was the second of the Hat Trick Boys to take May 6th, the 13th, and the 20th. Top Gun was right behind that, holding court over Memorial Day weekend, holding May 27th and June 3rd. Jurassic World took it from him and ran with the ball for June 10th and June 17th. Thor Love and Thunder then took the spot for July 8th and the 15th. Bullet Train held on firm at the end of the summer for August 5th and August 12th. Smile drummed up those horror audiences for September 30th and October 7th. Black Adam then took the reins from the Hat Trick Boys and joined their leagues with October 21st, the 28th, and November 4th. And now Black Panther not only joined the Hat Trick Boys, but did them one better, and he is now the only movie for the year of 2022 to hold on to 4 weekends in a row, with November 11th, November 18th, November 25th, and now December 2nd. And I fully expect us next week to add on to that pile and add in the next weekend to join into its ranks for having it been the only movie in 2022 to hold on to the box office for 5 weekends in a row. And now lastly, before we go, it has now been the first weekend where we are doing these charts in December, so you know what that means. We're going to take a look at what my November rankings were for this past month. I didn't get to see every movie that I had on my most anticipated list, but I did get to see a large majority of them, and we're going to go to the list now and see just where all these movies ended up shaking out. So if we take a look here on the left side, it is what was everything that was most anticipated for me. We start at the bottom of the list with Falling for Christmas. After that was A Christmas Story Christmas, then Spirited, then Disenchanted, then Slumberland, then Bones and All, then She Said, then The Wonder, then Weird, the Al Yankovic Story, then Enola Holmes 2, then Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Devotion, Strange World, The Menu took the number 3 spot, Glass Onion took the number 2 spot, and then The Fabelmans was my most anticipated. So now if we take a look over here on the right side, it will show everything that I did get to see and where they ended up placing. The only 2 movies on this list that I wanted to see that I didn't get to see from the left side was She Said and Black Panther Wakanda Forever. That's right, I did not see Black Panther Wakanda Forever yet. And honestly, it feels amazing to not be in that Marvel loop so soon. Like, I am going to see it. Every chance I had an opportunity to go see it, I chose not to go see it. And it was kind of liberating to not be in that Marvel bubble anymore. You know, it's kind of like what it feels like, I guess, when like a drug addict gets clean, like he just sees the light again. He's like, why the fuck was I in that for so long? I am going to see it at some point. I'm just not racing to get there. There's nothing coming out this weekend. So I guess probably this weekend is when I'm finally going to go see it. I just was not very excited or like, I gotta get out there and go see it. I also need to go see She Said. That's another movie that I just haven't had the opportunity to go see. And when I can go see a movie, I went and chose other movies over it. But I do want to go see those 2 movies. I will go see those 2 movies at some point. I just haven't yet. But we take a look here on the right side, and it's going to show all of the movies that I did see. If you notice right away, I got my top 3 right on the money. That's right. I said The Menu would be my third favorite movie from November, and it was. I said Glass Onion would be my second, and it was. And I said Fabelmans would be my number one, and it was. The Fabelmans also got the rare 5-star rating from me. Perfect 5 out of 5. I do not give too many of those in a year. I think I only gave it to 3 movies this year: The Fabelmans, Top Gun Maverick, and Everything Everywhere All at Once. So out of the over 200 movies that I've seen this year, those are the only 3 that have gotten my 5-star rating from this year. And then we take a look at the rest of the list. We'll start all the way at the bottom. My least favorite movie for the month of November was Disenchanted. Then it was the movie The Wonder. Then we had Slumberland. Then we had Strange World. Then we had Spirited. Then we had A Christmas Story Christmas. Then we had Enola Holmes 2. We had Weird, the Al Yankovic story. And then we had Devotion sitting right there up top, right outside of the number 3 spot. Now, I didn't hate any of these movies. There was nothing in here that I was like, this was fucking awful. But of course, some stuff has to be all the way at the bottom, and Disenchanted and The Wonder took those ones. They only got 2 stars from me. Disenchanted had some cute moments, but for the most part, everybody just looked exhausted in it. It looked like a movie that they were just like, what do we got that we can dust off and make for content's sake? And that was the movie that they chose. So it just seemed tired. And then The Wonder is down there because it's mostly just due to Florence Pugh's performance, because she is just such a powerhouse. But the plot of the movie, and it just kind of left a little bit to be desired. The rest of the movies, I enjoyed decently. If you look, Slumberland, Strange World, Spirited, A Christmas Story Christmas, and Enola Holmes 2 all got 3 stars for me. They were just solid movies down the line, movies that you were just like, yeah, that was a solid movie. That was okay. Like, it was good, wasn't bad. I don't know if I'll watch it again anytime soon, but I enjoyed that for what it was. And then Weird, the Al Yankovic story, Devotion, The Menu, and Glass Onion all got 4 stars for me. They were all fantastic movies that were just missing that one little thing to keep it from 5 stars, but they were all fantastic movies that I absolutely would see again. They were just fun, just great movies. And I look forward to getting to check those ones all out again. And of course, in the number 1 seed is our rare 5-star earner from The Fabelmans, which isn't a surprise to me because I fucking love Steven Spielberg. And I knew from the second that I saw that trailer that this movie was going to be something special for me. And it absolutely was. It was an absolute classic. And that will do it for all of us here for the weekend of December 2nd with the charts, with our box office numbers. It was a solid little quiet weekend as we chugged towards the opening of Avatar and our Christmas holiday season. It is going to get real wild real soon here at the box office. We have one more quiet weekend before we get to all that wild and fun stuff, so we better enjoy this quiet time as we can. I know I am at my theater. It is nice to have a nice little quiet time before we are about to batten down the hatches and go to war, because we are absolutely going to war this Christmas, and it is going to be one hell of a time at the Christmas theater. But that'll do it for all of us here. Until the next time, you have been you, I have been me. These are the movies we love so much. And until next time, adventure on.